Hey y'all, welcome to Critical Conversations. I'm your host, Karissa Dean, and I have a very critical conversation for us today. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to be like, what the fuck? But I think it's actually one of the most important conversations that was missing from my childhood. And it dawned on me that I have this beautiful platform and I need to be talking more about these things. The things that really we don't want to talk about. So I'm excited to get into it. First of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for rallying with me. Every time that you guys show up and you listen and you share an episode or you subscribe or you comment or you like, or you just say, wow, cool, thanks, Karissa, through a text or email or whatever, a DM, I really appreciate it. So I just want to say thank you for that. Today, I'm going to be talking about sex education. And I'm going to be talking about why it's so important for us as parents to lean into this difficult conversation. Are you uncomfortable? Great. Let's keep talking. So I have a 10-year-old. She will be 11 in March. And, you know, those conversations are happening. She's in 5th grade. And I've been trying to think like, okay, when I was in 5th grade, what was I learning? What were the conversations I was having with my friends? You know, she's just turning that corner where she's more curious about boys and they're, you know, talking about their crushes and they're like, you know, getting curious about what life looks like when they're older, right? How they're going to have relationships when they're older. And so I started to get curious about like, okay, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And this is not a, oh my God, my mom failed. This is when we know better, we can do better. And so I started thinking about when I was a kid, what are the questions I had and who would I have preferred to learn those from? And again, in addition to that, who would I prefer to learn them from? As a parent, where do I want my daughter learning this from? And I decided, like, from the very beginning, you know, being a mom, I wanted to be very close to my daughter. I wanted to have a tight relationship with her. I want to be friends with her for life. And, you know, there's that whole, like, you're their parent, you can't be their best friend. Like, I don't know, fuck that. Like, Ruby's one of my best friends and we have so much fun together. But yeah, I'm still her parent. There are still boundaries. There's still, like, you know, arguments that happen. I still disappoint her. I say no. You know, she rolls her eyes at me. But I do want her to be my friend and I want her to trust me. And one of the key things that I think is really cool in our family that I'd love to offer to you is we always talk about there's nothing we can't face together as a family. So we might not always like it. We might not agree with it, but there's nothing that as a family we can't come together and face. And I think that when your kid knows this, it gives them this extra level of confidence that they wouldn't normally have on their own. Because I think going through adolescence, like teenage years, into high school, middle school, high school, that shit's hard. And if you don't feel like you have a safe place to communicate about what you're feeling or the questions that you have, or like when you're trying to make sense of the world, if you don't have a safe place to speak, it's going to be really, really hard for you. And I think that was my reality is I didn't feel like I could really ask the weird questions I wanted to ask. And so I ended up learning a lot of things later on in life. And looking back, it's like, damn, I wish someone would have just sat down and got uncomfortable with me. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the conversations that I'm having with my daughter and the tools and materials that I'm using to support those conversations. So this is a critical conversation because I want you to get really curious about what worked in your childhood and what didn't, and what could you implement as a parent today that would change that that situation for your kid. Like, it's not necessarily about, I want to make her life so easy. No, I just think that like when we know better, we get to do better. And why wouldn't I want her to come talk to me? Like, I don't want her chasing these questions or curiosities through other avenues. Like, come talk to me and let's be awkward together. So I'm going to introduce this book. I just want to preface it with, I have not read every page of this book, but the book is called The Girl's Guide to Sex Education by Michelle Hope, and the foreword is written by Amy Lang, and it has over 100 honest answers to urgent questions about puberty, relationships, and growing up. So if you're on the video right now, you can see I'm holding it up. It is real talk about real life, about the changes of your mind, of your body, about relationships, about sex, about boundaries. I am going to say, like, when I was thumbing through, you know, there are questions in the back that, like, Ruby's not ready for. So, like, I didn't get this book and hand it over to her. Like, we don't need to talk about porn. She's in 5th grade, okay? You know, we don't need to talk about oral sex, right? Girl on girl, boy. Like, so there are things in it that are not quite yet age appropriate, in my opinion, which is why when I introduced this book, I said this book lives on my nightstand, and anytime you're curious about something, we can see if the book has questions or we can talk about it. And we're reading the first part of the book together. So last night we dug in. We got 6 pages in, you guys. We didn't go very far. But I want to reread. Let's see here. I want to read this, Who Am I? And it's on page 5. And again, this is The Girl's Guide to Sex Education by Michelle Hope. And Michelle, I just want to say thank you for writing this. It's really cool that you created a tool for parents, because I think we do need tools. So on page 5, you know, this chapter is getting to know you. And I love this chapter. I really think that every human, actually, not just kids or parents, needs to read this chapter. So I'm going to read page 5, Who Am I? And I love this because Deepak Chopra also has a whole meditation, and his like main focus of meditation is who am I? So this is like not just a question that your 5th grader is having or your 3-year-old is having. It's like, I'm 37 and I'm still asking myself this question. So being open and curious about how you evolve is also part of this conversation. It says, understanding who you are is like life. It's not a race, it's a journey. And on that journey, you'll have ups and downs, happy times, sad times, and really crappy times. But it's how you pick yourself back up that will shape who you are as a person. Even as an adult, I ask myself on a daily basis, who am I? When you consider how often television and media tell us who we should be. I want to read that line again because it's the most fucking important line. When you consider how often television and media tell us who we should be, right? That is that external validation. That is that external noise that's like, you're not good enough, or you have to dress a certain way, or you have to look a certain way, or you have to make a certain dollar amount. That is all external bullshit. It is no surprise that sometimes we can get a little confused about it, even as adults. One great way to tap back into who you are is to, guess what it is, guys? Journal. Identify what makes you feel happiest and brings you joy. And remember, you don't have to know who you are today or tomorrow. Who you are will change as you age, and you have the rest of your life to figure it out. 10 years from now, you're not going to be the same person you are today. That is how it's supposed to be. That's kind of the beauty of getting older. You can always redefine yourself. You guys, that chapter, literally, I was like, we're ending there and we're talking about this because I want Ruby to understand that she gets to change. Yesterday, she could be a bitch and be argumentative, and today she can be kind and compassionate. And tomorrow, she can be confused and anxious, and the day after that, she can be fun and ambitious. Like, you are constantly evolving. Like, the evolution of you is the only constant. And I want to talk about this because when I think about my life and my own evolution and who I was just 2 years ago, it is drastically different than who I am today. So let's talk about it. Like, why is it that we're so afraid of announcing these changes, right? You're evolving. Who you are should change, because when we know better, we should, and we get to do better. So the Girl's Guide to Sex Education, I highly recommend it. I would say, don't just hand it to your 5-year-old. This is definitely, I think that there are some kids in Ruby's grade that wouldn't be ready for this book, but Ruby's ready. She's asking questions. She's starting to have curiosities about her body and what's changing and why other people are getting boobs and she's not, why other people are having their period and she's not. Like, things are changing and she has curiosities, and I want her to talk to me. I don't want her to learn from YouTube. I don't want her to learn from, her best friend in the bathroom. Like, I want her to come to me. And I want to cultivate that relationship and that trust, because here's what's going to happen. If she knows that she can tell me anything and that together as a family, we will find a solution and we will make the way forward together, she's going to come to me when I most want her to come to me, when somebody is hurt and needs real help in life, when she's navigating relationships. Maybe she is navigating pregnancy. Maybe she's navigating something more serious. Like, I hope not. I hope that I never have to have that conversation about, a man taking advantage of her or anything like that. But I'd rather her know that she can come to me and she doesn't have to feel shame. She doesn't have to feel guilt. She can just know that I love her so much and I want what's best for her. And it starts here. Like, the ability to have those conversations later in life start here. Start where their brain is malleable while they're still like loving you and needing you, right? Like, she still needs me because she can't drive. She's not making money on her own yet, so she still needs her dad and I. And so we're going to go through this book, and we're going to go through it at a pace that she feels comfortable and safe with. And like I said, towards the back, there's a lot of things that I'm like, I don't really think we need to go there. But page 86, I hate my boobs and my period, and sometimes I wish I was a boy. Am I transgender or gay or what? Like, let's talk about it. I don't know why it's so uncomfortable for you to talk about it. Like, so what? Figure it out now. Let them discover that now. Am I pushing this on her? Am I saying, oh yeah, you're gay because you hate having a period? No. We're just talking about, hey, there's the potential that some kid in the world right now is like, dude, this is not who I am. And wouldn't you want them to discover themselves? Like, if Ruby does turn out to be gay or trans, I would love for her to figure it out and not go through her whole life hating herself. Is that my favorite option for her? No. I'm going to be completely fucking honest with you. No, I don't want my daughter to be gay. No, I don't want her to be trans. But if she is, I'm going to love the shit out of her. Because that's her path. And it's none of my damn business. My job as her parent is to set her up for success, to hold this beautiful, comforting, loving space for her to figure out who she is and be on that constant evolution. And what I think the success as a parent, the most successful thing that I see in her future is her loving herself, her knowing herself. The other day, I don't remember exactly what happened, but something happened and we were out and about and she did something and I was just like, wow, that's bold of you. And she's like, well, I'm confident. And I was like, damn straight. Why don't we celebrate that in our children more? Like, there's a lot of people out there who are going to tell you what's appropriate for your child, and they're going to tell you how to raise your child, and they're going to, you know, all this information is going to be flooded towards you about don't do this, let them be like, but here's what I want to remind you. You fucking know what they need. You know what they need. You are their parent. You are the person who has protected them from day one. Since you got them in your arms, whether you birthed them, adopted them, you know, took them in later in life, doesn't fucking matter. From the moment you brought them into your care, you know what's best for them. And you know this because you're going to tap into who you are and your intuition, and you're going to trust yourself. And you're going to say, yeah, this might be an unconventional conversation for other people, but I really think that I need to have this. You know, Ruby has been surrounded by trans people, gay people, you know, she's been surrounded by asexual people, people who are like not ever going to have sex. Like, she has been around a plethora of different ways of living. And we've talked about all of them because it's important for her to understand that there's more than one pathway. You know, and last night she was thumbing through the book and she's like, do we have to read the chapter about like the gay thing? And I was like, no, we don't have to read any chapter you don't want to read, but it's here if you have questions, or maybe you have a friend who has questions. I'd rather them learn it in the safety of a book that was made in love. This book was written in love, I can tell you, because I've thumbed through it. I would rather them read it in love than learn it on YouTube because some kid's pissed off because he's been gay his whole life and his parents never accepted him. I would rather them learn it in love. So let's see, what else? How much blood comes out when I'm on my period? What's the normal amount of pain to feel? Like, shit, we don't talk about this. Do you know as an adult how much pain you should feel when you're on your period? Like, very little to none. Did you know that? And if you're feeling more, you should go to a fucking doctor. Like, hello. What are the things people use for their periods? Besides pads and tampons. Oh my God, let's talk about it. Do you know how many options there are now? I was telling Ruby this the other day because I still have my period. And I use discs. I use the Flex cup. And she was like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, dude, if they had had this when I was a kid, it would have changed my life. You know, I remember I was in middle school and I honestly, maybe I have PTSD and I blocked it out, but I don't remember all the details. But I remember being in middle school. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade. And I had my period. And I didn't know how to use anything. I do not remember my mom talking to me about any of this shit. Like, at all. I don't remember her ever talking to me about birth control, tampons, pads, nothing. I literally can't even recall how I got that shit. That's how disconnected I was from these types of conversations as a kid. So there I am. I'm using pads because that's what I had, what I knew, what I understood, and what I felt comfortable with. And obviously, pad was not in the right position, and I bled through my pants. But I didn't know. I got up from English class and I went to science, sat down in science, and my English teacher came in. And I fucking will never forget. I can't even remember her name, but I can picture her hair. She tapped me on the shoulder and she came to my left side and she tapped me on the shoulder and I turned to look at her and she's like, honey, you've started your period. And I'm like, bitch, I'm on my period. She's like, you left a mark on your last share, so that means it's bleeding through your pants right now. She gave me her fucking flannel that was tied around her waist, said, grab your stuff. I'm going to walk you to the office and we'll call your mom. I don't remember if I ever thanked her. I don't remember if I gave her her flannel back. I don't remember if my mom picked me up. I really have no memories beyond her taking time to leave her classroom to come. She had to figure out what class I was in, right? Because in middle school, you're going from one class to another class. She took the time to figure out where I was at. And then she gave me her fucking flannel. And it was not a traumatic experience. I don't remember anyone saying anything, or like, as far as I know, nobody knew. Maybe they did and they were just really kind about it. But like, this is what I'm talking about. Compassionate people out of love saying, oh my God, like, I think about that now, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, that could have been terrible. That could have legitimately ruined my life. But it didn't. It was just this tiny speck in time. So I think it was Miss Triplet, whoever you were, thank you so much. Like, I literally think about that all the time, and I think that's kindness. That's compassion. And so thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I never gave you your flannel back. I was young and I didn't know what I was up to. But this is the thing, like, you want your kids to be prepared. So it's like, I don't think Ruby's close to starting her period, so I haven't packed her up with stuff. But I have a friend who is like, I'm pretty sure she's about to start, and we've got an emergency pack. We've got a change of clothes. And I'm like, genius, fucking genius. I don't remember where I was when I started. And so, this book is helping you help your kid through really hard times. How do I know if someone has a crush on me? Oh my God, what a cute question. Like, how can I become more popular? Like, oh my God, let's read this. Because I think this is interesting. Okay, page 90. How can I become more popular? Popularity is subjective. If you like people you kick it with and they like you, you're popular enough. As long as you focus on loving yourself. Oh my God. Like, literally, can we just mic drop stop? As long as you focus on loving yourself. Yeah. Key. Imagine what it would have been like if you, like, think about your childhood experience. If you loved yourself as a kid, what would your experience have been like? As long as you focus on loving yourself, working towards your goals, and being kind and respectful to others, you'll always have enough friends. Maybe not in middle school or high school, but later on in life. Like, that's the truth. That is the truth, because I think there's a lot of really confused kids out there who don't have a safe space. I know this to be true because Ruby's friends ask me questions, and Ruby will literally be having sleepovers with random kids. Like, multiple kids have come into my bedroom at night during a sleepover. Nigel and I are hanging out, and they knock on the door, and Ruby's like, hey mom, so-and-so wants to know about this. Would you come talk to us? And I was like, the answer is always sure. Because they don't have anyone else to talk to. It's very common for people who weren't at all popular in school to gain a lot of friends and have a great social life when they grow up. Yeah. I mean, it's got great, teaches you about the vagina and all the things. Like, what is this? Right? Hello. Let's learn about our vaginas and our internal organs. This is funny. Page 60. How many holes do I have down there? Like, I don't know. Did you know how many holes you have? I don't think I did. Anyways, you guys, definitely a difficult conversation. And you get to decide the relationship that you want to have. And I do want to say, like, for anyone who's like, oh my God, I can't believe you have sleepovers, and then these kids, you're like ruining them. And I'm like, no, I listen, I'm a coach and I take my practice very seriously. I would say that, anything and everything I say is with so much love, with so much compassion. And honestly, a lot of the times I encourage the kids to talk to their parents about it. But some of the parents don't have moms and or dads. They're coming from single families, and maybe their mom's just busy, or they don't have a mom. So, it's like, I remember the first time I ever talked about sex was with one of my friend's moms. You know, we were like, what's sex? She was like, it's amazing. And I was like, I didn't expect her to say that. Like, I don't think her daughter did either. But it was like, that was the first time I learned that like sex in a marriage is amazing, right? Like, obviously they're a Christian family. So she was talking about it being in the sanctity of a marriage, but she talked about how it's supposed to be fun and amazing and feel good and like be this cool thing. And we were in high school when we had that conversation with her, but you know, I think it's important for kids to have a safe space. And they talk about that too in the book. They call it a TKS, I think is what she calls it. Hold on, let me see here. Yeah, TKA, someone close to you, someone you trust, someone who wants the best for you. So yeah, I think trusted, knowledgeable adult. So a TKA, trusted, knowledgeable adult. And I think, you know, it's just about what are you doing it from? I'm doing it from love. I'm doing it from compassion, right? So your kids might not be ready for this, but I think it's important to be prepared. I actually bought this book maybe over a year ago. I just got it on Amazon because I was like, I want to be ready. When she's ready, I want to be ready. And there's just been a couple things that have happened where I'm like, gosh, I think it's time. I think it's time to pull this book out. You know, Nigel was gone. So like we had this whole weekend together to kind of get into it. And, you know, like I said, I don't want to just hand this over to her because I think there is a lot more than what she needs. But it's a tool for us to use together. It's a tool for me as a parent to help guide conversation. Because if you're like, well, I'll just talk to them about it, that's all good and gravy. But like just talking to them about it might not get you anywhere, because where do you start, right? And so I think this is a really helpful spot. Even if you never want to show this book to your kid, you can read it and you can be like, okay, here are some of the things that I am comfortable talking with them about. And I think also tell your fucking kid to find somebody who's a trusted, knowledgeable adult. Like, let them make a safe space. If you're not available for these conversations, can you help them find someone who is? Maybe it's an aunt, maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's a grandparent, maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's your best friend's best friend. You know, I think that there are modalities or ways in which you can help support your kid, even if you don't understand. There are therapists, there are coaches out there who like this is their practice, is to support people on having these conversations. You can reach out to the school counselor and say, hey, what are the conversations we're having around these things? Like, what is the, you know, curriculum in the school? Like, because I taught at Portland Public Schools, I'm pretty familiar with what they're about to learn, but I probably should reach out and be like, hey, has this changed at all? What is the current curriculum for these topics? Because it's good to be involved and it's good to understand. And you might know what's going on in math, but what's going on in health? What are they learning about their bodies? If they're not learning it at school, where are they learning it? And where do you want them to learn it? So I think this is such an important conversation. So if you have a friend who has a kid, please share this with them. I'm pretty sure there's a boys edition. I'm sure there's probably other non-cis editions out there for anyone who is, you know, bi or trans or curious in one of those other directions. Get it and have it for yourself as a tool. You know, like there are people out there creating these books as tools to support us. And if you're having a hard time because your kid's identifying differently, or you're having a hard time because you think they might be identifying differently, get a book. It's so easy. Just Google it, read the reviews, go to the Instagram page of the person, see if you identify with, you know, what they're saying, and order the book. Yeah. That's today's critical conversation. So I will keep you updated on this. You know, I think, you know, some really interesting conversations are about to happen in my house. And I'm so excited for it. And I'm so thankful that I decided to get curious about how I can be a better parent. And again, when we know better, we get to do better. And I think we should. I think we should want that for our kids. I surely want Ruby to grow up loving herself and being as confident as she was the other day when we were in that store. And she was just like over there advocating for herself. And I'm just like, oh my God, who's this beautiful little being that just went over there and did her thing? Yeah. Thank you, Michelle Hope. Amy Lang, thank you for the foreword. The Girl's Guide to Sex Education by Michelle Hope. I got my copy on Amazon. You guys, I'm sure there's other people, maybe even Michelle has a boys version. But I think that these are great, great, great tools for us as parents. There's things around emotions. There's things about, what do I do if people are talking behind my back? Like, that's a very real, raw experience, and it has nothing to do with sex. But look, there's a tool for you. How can I feel better about myself? Oh my God. She talks about journaling. Why do we get our periods? Why is there new hair on my body? All these things, you guys. Yeah. Really, 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 really excited to dig into this. Michelle has a master's degree in human development as well as extensive postgraduate training in sexuality. So there you go, you guys. She's got lots of years of experience and lectures. Go order your copy. It was $10.99, I think. Like, nothing to balk about. Just go order it, have it on your bookshelf, be ready, read it yourself so that you're prepared to answer some of these questions and support your kids. All the healing and bullshit and trauma and therapy and things that we're doing as adults right now, why let's bypass that for our kids. Like, let's let them just be the gurus of the next generation and step into a really powerful life where they love their life, they feel empowered to be themselves, and they're changing humanity, because instead of having to heal themselves, they're like, I'm amazing, I have a great relationship with myself, let's go change the fucking world. All right, y'all, I will see you at the next Critical Conversation. Thanks for tuning in, and have a beautiful day.